Hey guys, Blue Kool-Aid here. Hey, we had a CME. I'm just going to show it to you here real quick. This is the Lasco C2, guys. Okay, sorry about that. It's going to toggle through. You're going to see it. Okay, look at the left side. Look up. Here's where it's going to come. All right. See that? This tool detects CMEs. That's what it's for. The blue line's the leading edge. The red line is like the outline of it. It only lets us see up to 4 UTC. I'm on the East Coast. It's about 10 till 3 in the morning here on the East Coast. Not actually on the East Coast. I'm on Eastern Standard Time. I'll tell you that much. We're about 7 hours difference, I think, to UTC. So we really should be able to see a little bit more than what they're showing us. But that can be from a variety of reasons. I'm not trying to claim that they're trying to hide anything here. But they very well could be trying to filter through some information or whatever. But typically when we see one like this doesn't look like a really impressive one. Okay, I'll just say that. You do see it over here on the visible. I mean, it's something to look at. It really is. You also see a little energy coming off this direction too. I'm sure it's related to this. A lot of times, almost every time actually, that you see a bigger flare or an actual CME, you will see a smaller one come off of the other side of the sun. That's probably like a reaction from the original, maybe even some sort of an exhaust feature kind of thing. And it's typically smaller than the original one. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, when we see these, what do? You know, the first thing we do is, well, what caused this? What caused this? Well, sometimes they're just natural and it just happens. Okay? Could be from alignments of the planets of some sort, magnetic connections. All this stuff is very valid stuff that actually happens. Obviously, what we research here, we want to rule out, an object close to the sun. All right? Well, this is Lasco C2 I just showed you. This site here, I like it because it actually has COR2 on the same site. This is a different satellite. This is on the Sechi. Anyway, I'm going to show you the latest version of that. So you see this, right? Obviously, let's just stop it right there. You see that, right? I mean, there's a CME. Okay, it's on the same side. It's a little bit different angle because this is a different satellite. But look at this. Okay, so the next question is, yes, that's absolutely an object of some sort. On the same side as the CME. Okay, I will show you this too. On this particular capture over here, anytime something's real bright on this one, on the black and white version, it tries to turn it gray. Okay, so you got this right here. You got this object, and then you got a CME right here. Well, if you go right to the middle, it goes straight through the middle. Okay, so in my opinion, this is exactly what's happening. This is what's going on. There is this is what caused this CME. So, anyway, so where we go from there, right? Well, not a whole lot we do. Okay, so it is what it is. Now, we'll take you to the previous day. We'll go to the previous day here on the COR2 because it's interesting that something I noticed. Okay, it's loading up right now. Just go ahead and stop it there. Okay, that's the last image that it'll let us see on that day. It's like at 1800 hours. Now, I'm going to toggle this through. Okay. And it's going to pop. That's the first capture of the 23rd. Okay. Obviously, that looks crazy. All that is it probably got a flash of light wherever the camera's at on this satellite. Okay. Because the next capture is fine. We see that a lot, guys. So don't freak out over it. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to back this up the other direction actually because I'm closer to what I want to show you. Now, what I want you guys to notice, first thing, guys, is obviously you're seeing this, right? You're seeing these little, something shooting through the sky there, okay? But when we see a planet emerge onto these captures, onto these cameras, and this is going to be a really crude picture, okay, guys? It's going to be not... It is what it is. I suck at drawing. Just saying. Okay. So if you have a planet, and I'm drawing this big on purpose. Okay, so you have a planet here, right? It's a bright planet. We see that, right? Well, typically you'll see it's like going out and looking at the street light at night and squinting your eyes a little bit. You know how the light kind of stretches? Okay? This is kind of what we see typically when we have a planet emerge onto these satellites. Okay, because this is what they kind of look like. Okay, that's what it does typically. Now, why am I even talking about that, right? Well, look what this object did. Okay, this could be a planet. It could be Venus. It could be Mercury. I don't know for sure. I could research a little bit more and find out the exact position of these satellites where they're sitting right now and find out. But I don't have a any kind of solar software, okay, to know where all this stuff is at. I mean, I could probably go find out where the satellites are at, but I couldn't tell you what is actually in the sky from the view of that satellite, is what I'm trying to say. So, anyway, we'll go to next. Okay, so I'm going to go previous, okay. Now, you're seeing this really crazy appendage come out of this thing, right? It's not coming off straight. It's not coming off in any normal way. Okay? I mean, look at that. Okay? Now we can go on through, and I'm going to go ahead and toggle through. I'm just going to hit start. Pause it. And that's what it looks like at the end. Okay? Those lines went away. Why? Okay? If it was a planet, they probably wouldn't go away, right? So I don't know what that was. I don't know what's causing that. I mean, that could be, like I said, that could be Venus and it could be Mercury, because those two planets are between us and the satellite and the sun. Unless they're on the other side of the sun at this time, which I don't know, which is what I'm trying to tell you. But I do believe that that this object here is responsible for, at least in part, to why we had a CME come off that side of the sun. Just saying. Okay, you guys can research this a little bit more if you want. I'm sure I'll talk about it again in my next video, because as time goes on, this thing will move away. And here's the thing, on COR2, on the CME, I seen Mercury come into the picture a couple, like on the 21st or something like that, 21st, 22nd, and it was traveling that way. This thing is traveling the opposite from the same satellite. From the view of the same satellite. Okay, guys? So I can tell you pretty much with pretty good confidence, this probably isn't Mercury. You know, it is moving, it's moving to the left, and on the other, if you go over to CME and look at COR2, when Mercury shows up, it's actually moving from left to right. So unless there's some sort of reverse imaging going on here that I'm not aware of, then it really makes that almost impossible that that's Mercury. But that's not saying it couldn't be Venus, because Venus is, as we know, guys, is a very bright planet. They call it the comet planet for a reason. All right, it's bright. You can go look in. Well, I'm not sure if it's still in the southeastern skies. I think it might be, but it's really bright even today. You guys got a clear night, go check it out. Not sure if it's actually, as far as our rotation and our orbit around the sun, where it's actually at right now. But like a couple weeks ago, they were talking about it even in the news, how bright that was. My wife even stopped, said, what is that? And she doesn't get into this research like I do. So for her to say that, I knew it was brighter than what normally stuff is in our sky. So anyway, we're going to go and we're going to talk about this whole atmosphere thing one more time. And I'll probably talk about it again. This is a subject that's not going to go away anytime soon. Okay? I'm just going to say that right now. First thing I'm going to say, guys, is that we have to keep in mind that our atmosphere is made up of different layers. different sections. Okay, the outermost section, which is what they're talking about here, guys, that they say is bigger than what we thought, is the geocorona layer. Okay, they're saying it's close to 400,000 miles out. It's like I think the exact number is like right around 391,000 miles out. Well, the moon's at I think 263 or something like 263,000, something like that. Anyway, you can see this diagram. It's well inside the outer limits of that. So in other words, the moon is in part of our atmosphere. Now, does that mean that we could go stand on the moon and take our space helmet off? No, it doesn't mean that. And how would I explain that to people? Well, let me explain it to you this way, okay, guys? Those of you guys that live in the United States, and I'm sorry if you guys don't get this way of thinking here or this example, but here in the United States, like if you go to Denver, we call it the Mile High City, right? That's because, well, it's supposedly right at about a mile above sea level. If you guys go to the grocery store today and you look at cooking instructions, let's just say on a baking item, especially baking, actually, this really affects baking because we like our cakes and stuff to be what? Fluffy, right? Well, the baking time is different. They'll give you 2 different baking times, especially if they know this product is going to the West Coast where there's mountains, where there's, other stuff out there. I don't want to say West Coast, but on the western part of the country. And, we got the Appalachians here on the eastern. But typically, if you're in a mountainous region or a high sea level region, then you're going to get product at your store. And even those of us that don't, they may put it on every box. A lot of manufacturers do that. But any of us could go to the grocery store, pick up something, and we're going to find 2 different baking instructions on these same boxes because the baking has to be done in a different time or a different temperature to get the same result because the air is thinner the higher you go. Okay? So you take that and you extend that out to 400,000 miles. Okay? You can imagine that if I'm standing on the top of Mount Everest, which I'm not sure, I've not even researched this at all, but it may be in a different part of our atmosphere than where I'm sitting at right now. It may be called a different name in that section of the atmosphere. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if I tried to run down the street where I live right now, a block, and then I just magically transported to the top of Mount Everest and ran the same distance, I can guarantee you that I'm not going to make it when I go to the Mount Everest one because I'm going to lose my breath really, really quick because the oxygen saturation there isn't as high as down lower. So that directly goes to what I'm just talking about. So the edge of our geocorona, anything past our geocorona would be considered space, which means basically lack of air particles. Okay? It's a vacuum. At least they tell us it's a vacuum. There's a lot of people that don't believe that that's the case. A lot of people think it's water and we live under a dome and all those kinds of things too. And I don't discount any of that, guys. I want you guys to know that. I'm not advocating for either side. I'm just not there yet. I'm really not. Not in my head. I'm not. But I don't discount those kinds of ideas. I do try to keep an open mind. But I'm going to go ahead and say this. If what they're saying to us is true, all right, we have technology that we know that they do have, and they'll come out and just tell you this for years, that they can have a machine that will take atmospheric air that's very low in oxygen content, and they can machine it in such a way or filter it in such a way or add oxygen to it or be able to make it breathable air is what I'm trying to say. There's machines out there that can do that. So what does that mean? Well, that means if they had this technology in that our moon Okay, yes, I said the moon. This is going to freak people out a little bit. I know some people are going to be like, what are you talking about? Anyway, if you're standing on the moon and they got this technology, doesn't it stand to reason that they possibly could be doing this in some sort of facility on the surface of the moon? Okay, does that mean that somebody could walk out to the surface of the moon, take their space helmet off, and still live? No, it doesn't. They would suffocate just like any other time. They would not have no air to breathe. They'd have a little bit, but it's not enough to sustain life. That's my point here, guys. Okay? This is how big this information is. It's a soft disclosure. They're going to release this stuff slowly to us, but I think it's going to be at a more rapid pace now because they're not going to be able to hide what's actually going on. Keep in mind that if you know, they told us that when they went to the moon, they had to go through the Van Allen belts, right? What's the Van Allen belts? That's high radiation belts around us. That if what they're telling us is true, that our atmosphere is actually out that far, these belts are actually inside our atmosphere. Does that freak out anybody else but me? At least a little bit? Is that some sort of cause of concern a little bit? Maybe that's why we get some of the sicknesses we get. Maybe that's, maybe all this stuff is, or is it just a big farce? I don't know. All I'm saying is if what they're telling us is true, this is the line of thinking that we have to go down. Are they getting ready to release something to the public whenever they decide to do it, that there's actually stuff going on the moon, it has been for years, which is, honestly, guys, that's what I believe. Okay? You're not ever going to tell me that these guys just sat on this information for 20 years. Nobody's ever going to convince me of that. If what they told us is true here, and they're not lying to us for a reason that we don't know yet, then you got to ask yourself, like I said yesterday, guys, Harry Stamper said it best. You guys are NASA, and this is the best you got. I mean, serious? I know I said that a couple times here in the past couple videos, but man, it applies to so many things. So, anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring that up. This is the line of thinking that we're going to have to go down, guys. This is a game changer. It really is. Does it going to affect us tomorrow and all that stuff, like I said in my last video? No, it's not. But it will cause us to look at things a little bit different than we should. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to keep you guys updated on this as much as I can. Did I mention at the beginning of this, Jeff P., he's been having some issues with some computers. So if you guys don't see Jeff P. for a couple weeks, that's why. Okay, he's okay. Just letting you guys know. I think Scott was on Marfugel TV tonight, guys. I was on there last night. I was talking the radio talk show. You can go on there, you call. The channel's great. So anybody go sub up to it, man. Seriously, Marfugel TV. Scott from Planet X News was over there talking tonight with great information. I was on there talking. Jeff P. was actually in the chat. So there's a lot of people that I've been with Marf for a long time. Marf is a great guy. Marf, if you're listening to it, buddy, listen to this video. You stay strong, man. Faux show, You do great work over there. Your whole team does. Shauna, you're great. I mean, I've talked to you a couple times. The guys taking the phone calls, man, they're on it, man. Your mods are awesome. I have nothing negative to say. I've been with the channel since they tried to light a fire in the lobby of his freaking apartment complex. Those of us that have been with that channel for a while kind of get a chuckle out of that because, I mean, that's how long it's been. So, anyway, guys, God bless. Yeshua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.